Thanks for coming over today, Loretta.
Thank you. My pleasure. That's
Yeah. So I'm thinking about when it was probably at your house, we had book club, and I remember you talking about your career and kind of shifting gears, and you were saying that you were thinking about, well, what do you love to do? And how you, like me, like are always listening to a podcast on wellness.
Hours and hours.
On wellness, me too. And I was like, oh wow, it's like I would love to like pick your brain. I mean, because we're friends, you know, I know a lot anyway, and you've shared a lot of your insights with me anyway. But like I thought, well, this would be, you'd be a perfect guest, you know, to have on my Simply Be Well.
Yeah, I love our conversations.
Podcast.
And then when I found out you're a qigong practitioner and I can go take your classes, I was like, wait a minute. This girl likes the stuff I like.
I know. So I love that, you know, about meeting you. And I'm also like thinking back to like, what are the chances? I remember early on when we first moved here, walking by your house, and I always like admired your house. It's got so much charm, and you were outside, and I remember like chatting with you a little bit, and you know, that was that. And I think you even like mentioned that maybe your mother you were looking for a place for your mother.
Yes.
Maybe she wasn't living here yet.
Yeah.
And then probably more than a year went by.
Yeah.
And then I guess we connected again through book club.
Right. I show up that day.
So it's just, I mean, you become such a good friend. I just like can't believe like what are the chances that, you know, that day I was just walking by and then this developed into such a great friendship.
Yeah. I love those serendipitous movements.
Yeah.
And so thank goodness my husband was swimming in the pool the day that he actually saw all you guys sitting around the pool having this amazing community of women, which is like really what I was missing when I first moved here. I was like, I don't have my community. Where's my girlfriends?
Yeah.
And we were still new, and he was swimming, and he's like, I think this is a good group of women for Loretta. And so he got Colleen's phone number, gave it to me, and I was like, maybe, I don't know. I can't just drop in on a book club. And so I finally went a few months later, and I was like, this is the best thing.
Yeah.
Because a community of women is so important.
Yes. Yeah.
For, you know, wherever you are.
Yeah.
Having that foundation.
It's such a, I mean, and it's grown like so much. There's like, you know, over 20, you know, in this group.
Yeah.
But
it's like, we don't really think about it in terms of like health and wellness. It's like you're thinking about, movement and food, and such an essential piece is community, friendship, love, all that kind of gives you this nourishment that helps support all those other aspects of health and wellness.
It really is, and it's such a great, like, not only is it fun, which is really important, but it's also such a great network in terms of, you know, people will need something, they'll drop it in the thread, or, you know, especially when there's been a tragedy, and people just, you know, can jump in, or if you need an electrician.
All of the above, or we're just, you know, you go girl, you know, just support.
Yes.
And conversation.
Yeah.
Like we get into these, we talk about the book, and then it takes us down these really amazing conversations where we get to know each other better, solving, you know, questions in our own life. So that's when you know, were talking to me about this conversation, I was thinking, well, what are my 5, like, I think everything's 5, right? 5 tips for this. And I was like, well, what is my core? And I realized, okay, there's 5 of them. And that piece of it, that community piece, is like such a huge part, you know, surrounding yourself with people who love and support you. Yeah. And I was like, well, what else is there in that equation of health and wellness? Yeah. So I really started thinking about it. I'm like, I'm so glad you asked me that question. So I'm like, And I was thinking that the first one is really movement. And that's why part of the reason I love going to your class is because I get my mom, who's 85, to come and be there, she sits in her chair and she does qigong, and it fills her up too, you know? And so she was such a big part of my love of movement, even though she doesn't do much of it now. When she was younger, we were hiking through the woods, we were jumping in the river, we were always climbing a tree, we're always doing something. And so from a young age, movement is like every part of every day, and it's joy. So movement and joy are like seared together. It's never like, oh, I have to go move because I have to go do it.
Right.
It's like, it's an essential piece of like how you live.
Right. Well,
so.
it's like, you know, one affects the other, right? I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were saying, he was saying to something to do like throughout your day is to fire endorphins, and a good way to do that is, you know, some kind of movement.
Yeah. You know, even just like if you're, I don't know, maybe just upset or you're thinking about something too much, or you're kind of like anxious in your body, like a walk in nature, it's gone, you know, it just sort of soothes and calms, you know.
Puts
so
it in perspective.
Yeah, or even a walk in a city street, like, you know, you're
Yeah.
you know, engaging. Not everybody lives near nature, but
so before we jump into other pillars, more on movement, I'm wondering, like, what does your daily routine look like? Do you have a morning routine for movement?
I don't have a morning routine for movement. I have a let me exercise snack through the day.
Oh wow, that's great.
I started thinking about for a long time I sat at my desk working, right? And so get up. I wouldn't always have time getting my kids off to school, and then I got to get to my desk. I work from home, which was really nice, but still the morning just like cruises by. And so I got used to sitting at my desk, working, and then getting up, taking a break, and go do something. I might just go out on my patio and do jumping jacks or yoga, move around, kind of shake off the desk a little bit, and then usually late afternoon, early evening was where I would have like a workout.
Okay.
Kind of, because then I've gotten all the necessities done for like my obligations, and then I can go and have my movement practice and kind of lose the day in my practice. Now I really do like starting the day with something because it kind of energizes me. But it's really how, you know, whatever your lifestyle balance is at the time. But on an average week, I would do like 3 days of strength training. And then on the other days, I might run or walk. I try to walk every day, but the run and the strength training are kind of where I'm living in right now.
Okay.
And then through the day, I might do a few things. So I know I'm going to do the gym later, but I'm like, you know, I'm going to do a couple squats here. I'm going to do a couple things that I know I need I got this shoulder bone, I got the knee and the ankle. So I work on like little rehabby type things to help address that. So when I get to the gym, I'm not spending the whole time fixing my knee. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. I have a lot of rehab things too. I do. And I love that idea because I do buy into the philosophy of, you know, don't just like do your hour, whatever time of day it is, but like, you know, move throughout the day. Makes sense.
Doing an activity with friends, you know, that really makes like having a yoga class. If someone said, or if one of the girls calls me and said, anyone want to go for a run? I'm like, I wasn't going to, but yes. Like it kind of gets me like, okay, I'll go because I know I'm going to be able to be with them, do a little run, and then come back and not just on my own out there, you know, plodding. So that's helpful.
Good. And so what is there anything else on movement or any other pillar you want to get into?
I think with movement, sometimes when you get out of the practice of movement, getting back into it feels like a chore or work. But once you're in it, it brings you so much like energy and good feelings, and then it becomes, ooh, I get to go do that. And it fills you up rather than like feel like
forcing.
But it's like that lift off the plane, like the biggest effort is that first lift off, and that can be challenging and daunting, and something hurts, and your lung capacity is not where it needs to be to get there. But once it starts getting up over that first very big hump, it starts to smooth out and it's easier.
Yeah.
So I think one of the challenges is starting it and getting past the painful part, and then getting into the smooth flying part. So,
are you doing your strength training at the gym or at home, or?
Mostly at the gym. Like the real strength training is at the gym, and at home, I always have my stuff spilled out all over the living room. I got a kettlebell. I might just pick up the kettlebell and do a few squats with it, or I might just go in there. I'm walking past it, I do a few things and then I go on my day. They're literally exercise snacks. That I'm like, I think I need a little bit of that. A little bit of this.
And I'll mention here that you are a personal trainer. So I was curious if since you are at the gym working with clients, are you also working out yourself there, or?
I do, but I go when no one else is at the gym.
Oh, okay.
Because otherwise I feel like I feel more obligated to have conversations and stuff.
Right.
And if I'm there, I know from certain time it's an empty gym, and I go and I can just.
And you're also working with people in their homes too.
I work in people in their homes, and I work mostly with women in our age group who are having all the different. Nobody comes into this decade without injuries. If you've had an active life, there's knees and feet and shoulders and necks and
all of that.
all of it. And I love figuring out, because I did years ago, I was a corrective exercise. I was a rehab trainer for about 10 years in a chiropractic's office. So it was only injuries and getting people, so they'd leave physical therapy and then they want to go back to the gym and then they hurt themselves. And it was just this cycle. And so I was that middle piece that's like, let me help you safely get stronger so that you can then go and do things with a trainer. Or on your own in the gym. So I love that. It's like I don't know, it's something I'm so passionate about. I love it.
Well, I imagine that's
figure out the puzzle of the human body.
Right, gosh. Wow. I feel like, my stuff is a huge, big puzzle. So.
And my own, that's where it came from.
I'm wondering, well, you said that you did a lot of things with your mother being active. Is there, I can imagine, but you tell me if there's inspiration still, there to keep yourself active and mobile.
I was thinking about it. So I have a younger brother, and my mom took care of the two of us, and also my aunt's 4 kids. When we were young, and that's 3 boys and 1 girl.
Wow.
So I was kind of in the lower half of the age bracket. So I had older male cousins, younger brother, and every day it was 6 of us. And when you grow up with boys, you're doing stuff. You're climbing the flagpole, you're jumping off of the thing, whatever. I was a peewee. I was so tiny. And I wanted to let me do, okay, they're going to climb the flagpole. I'm going to keep trying every day to climb the flagpole, because everything's a race, everything's a challenge, and you don't get a prize, you just get to be the one who did it, right? So I grew up in this thing, and we lived near woods and river, and we were free range kids, so run down to the river by ourselves, jump in the water, if you can't swim very well, you're going to drown. And so my little skinny little legs, I'd be trying to oh no, and I'd get back to shore. So it was like I wanted so much to do the things they were doing, and I was always trying really hard to do it. But even in grade school, you'd have baseball, and I was like, I can't pick up the bat, I'm so tiny. But I tried to figure out what can I do, what am I good at. I can run fast. So I practiced all the time to beat the boys around the baseball diamond every day in kindergarten, 1st grade, I can't pick up a bat, I can't throw a ball, but I can run.
Oh my
and so
gosh, wow.
running became my absolute passion.
Wow.
And that's what I did,
Wow.
like running,
Yeah.
you know.
And your mom is, you know, great, like with, you know, coming to class, but also doing walking
She
on
does
her
her
own. She does a
walking,
lot of
yeah.
walking on her own.
She was really, she'd always be, okay, everybody, first one to the, you know, she'd make everything a game.
Like a camp counselor.
She was a camp counselor. So she's got 6 kids she's got to wrangle,
Yeah.
and she wants them all over there.
Yeah.
Now it's a race to see who gets there first.
Mm-hmm.
So everything was a challenge. Okay,
Yeah.
who could put their shoes on faster?
Oh
Who
my
could-
gosh.
So she made everything a game. She's very Mary Poppins. She made everything a game and everything about a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And we associate that with fun.
Wow.
And that is like the baseline for what she
Yeah.
what she came to it with.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Great role model.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So what else? What other is in your bucket of wellness tools?
My more recent one is sleep. I'm like, I mean,
okay.
you listen to all the podcasts. I would always kind of cut my sleep short a little bit to try to squeeze more into my day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, no, sleep is like foundational.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a luxury. It's like a necessity.
Right.
Your body heals, your brain function, everything.
Yeah. Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
It's when it cleans.
Mm-hmm.
It's when it organizes. It's when it repairs. So.
Did you ever have trouble sleeping through the night or
No.
getting to sleep?
I never. No. My head goes on the pillow and I'm out. But I would shorten my sleep.
Okay.
So I'd go to bed a little. I'd work a little too late.
Uh-huh.
And then I'd get up early.
Uh-huh.
You know, kids or whatever. And so I think I spent a lot of years underslept.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I'm sleeping, like putting sleep as a priority, I'm like, that's a game changer.
Mm.
You know, your ability to tolerate stress, your ability to deal with a difficult situation. If you're not well slept, you just don't have the ability to tolerate.
I have no tolerance if I don't get, at least for me, I would say between 7 and 8. I can usually function pretty well in 7.5, 7. But if it's less than that, I really do not feel like doing anything that day.
It's a struggle,
Yeah, I really don't feel myself.
So sleep, you know, I've really listened to so many podcasts on all the benefits of sleep, and there's so much more than I ever realized before, just how important it is. The cycles, the circadian rhythms, the different phases of sleep that help different parts of your body repair and
Right. So I have a little bit of knowledge of that from Ayurveda, but tell me what your knowledge is on that with the cycles and the benefits.
I couldn't tell you exactly that. Let me recall this podcast. I just remember knowing, okay, I have to sleep for 8 hours to let all those cycles happen and make sure that. And I try not to use an alarm. I try to go to bed at the same time every night because your body gets familiar with the practice. So what you do before you go to sleep, I'm trying really hard not to look at my phone and scroll. I'm trying not to get daylight in my eyes. You know, lower the lights. Let my brain know, because a lot of this is letting your brain know what's coming next. Right. So getting my brain prepared for it. I'm shutting everything down. I'm not exposing myself to daylight, which is going to re-trigger the wakeful cycle, right? And try as hard as I can. Every night I say to my husband, tonight I'm going to bed early. And he always finishes it for me. I said, oh honey, tonight? And he goes, you're going to bed early? I'm like, yes. Because he has so living with the person you live with, right? I am an earlier to bed, earlier to rise, and he is a later to bed, later to rise. And so when you're trying to mesh with it, you know, he's sitting down to dinner sometimes at 9 o'clock. I'm like, it's my bedtime.
I find too that when Mark and I are off schedule, I'll always be the one to go to bed first. And sometimes I'm a little restless, until he comes to bed, because I know he's going to be coming in.
Yes.
So it's hard to like totally, relax.
That's very true.
Yeah.
My mind will still be, okay, he's going to be coming in soon, and he's going to be making noise, and he's going to be taking his shoes off. I got to get to bed early enough so I'm totally out, so when he comes in, I'm here.
Yeah.
But sleep is really just the repair part, if you're dealing with injuries and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, from Ayurveda, what we learned was that, again, based on the circadian rhythm, that there's the first part, of sleep between roughly 10 and 2 a.m. is when you're physically healing, and then from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. is when you're like going through like your dreaming and your like emotional detox. And although dreams don't always like feel like a detox to me.
No, I think it's just file sorting. I feel like it's sort of like it's
and memory storing.
Things, yes, and that I do recall as being a very essential part. So if you don't give your brain enough time to resort and put everything away and neaten up their files, that it needs that time to kind of reconnect, make connections, and explain your day and store memories away.
So what else? What other pillars? So we talked about community, sleep, movement.
Nourishing food.
Oh, my
course.
favorite.
Yes, your recipes. Oh,
my favorite topic.
So good. Always so good. Nourishing food. I think once I had my first child, I really started thinking, I have this human. There's no manual for how to raise a human. There's a lot of books on the shelf, but not like one manual, like how do I nourish this child? And so that kind of began my deep dive on food. What does he need? What do I need? And when you're juggling work, a baby, breastfeeding, your body's just stretched to absolute. It's such a tightrope, and you're exhausted, and you're not sleeping, and the first thing you want is like a coffee and a cake. Because you're just trying to solve this physical problem of, I actually don't need a cake, I need sleep, but you can't, right? So I started really trying to figure out how this all works, and I saw a naturopath. I lived in Singapore at the time, and I met this woman. She was an English woman, she's a naturopath, and she's the one who kind of opened my world up to nourishment. On a cellular level, through the different kinds of foods, and that kind of began my journey of recipes and all the different, there's paleo and there's Mediterranean, and it gets so complicated, and it really doesn't have to be that complicated.
So I was going to ask you, is there a formula that you follow?
In my family, diabetes type 2 is like a thing. So a number of years ago, I realized I have to make sure that doesn't happen to me, right? And I come from an Irish family. Potatoes, a big giant mound of them, is the baseline of every single meal, right? There might be some carrots on the plate. There's some meat, maybe some green beans. That's it. And so I was kind of raised on eat a potato, go about your day. I literally lived on baked potatoes and broccoli through college. And I also was running collegiate track. And I look back now and I was like, I was not nourishing myself the way I really needed to. The amount of vegetables and fiber and protein and just all the micronutrients that we need that comes from a variety, a rainbow of foods and lean proteins, if you're vegan, plant proteins. So I started really trying to reformulate how I think about my plate. And there is a little bit of a difference, an athlete plate versus a non-athlete plate, because an athlete's going to be burning through a lot of carbohydrates.
Makes sense.
So there are a lot of athletes that later in life get diabetes because they've had to consume so much glucose in their sport. And so I realized I need to dial back on the carbohydrates part. You know, not the simple ones. If as a runner you need a simple one, so it breaks down and feeds your muscles glycogen, so you can run. But it's just everyday life. It has nowhere to go. You know, you're going to just store that glycogen and turn it into fat, and then you end up with you know, diabetes problems. So I think of the nourishment of food in terms of adequate amount of fiber, rainbow of fruits and vegetables, and slower burning carbs like sweet potatoes and things like that. So
whenever I track my macros, particularly carbs, I want to, you know, kind of keep in check. And even if I haven't had like a typical carb like bread or pasta or rice or potato, this carbs like still like, you know, just from eating fruits and vegetables, you know, like add up.
It bumps your the sugar in your body. And you know, just the simple act of after you eat, if you take a walk, instead of that sugar going into storage, it gets directed to your muscles. And this is where strength training comes into play, because the more muscle mass you have, because the muscles in our body process glycogen, sugar. And if you, as we age, we lose muscle mass, right? And all the conversations around you need to gain muscle mass. And that doesn't always mean running or jumping or doing cardio, which is what we're always thinking, let me do cardio for weight loss and weight management. We need to build muscle mass so that our bodies have a resource or a receptacle to use up those carbohydrates.
That makes sense.
I mean, that's how we're built. We're agrarian. You know, humans are used to wake up in the morning and they're feeding chickens and they're pushing things and they're lifting things and carrying things, and we don't lift, push, carry anymore, right?
Come to me.
Well, unless you're building a wall like you are.
Come to my house on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. That's so true. But it used to be part of our day, so we probably had a lot more muscle mass. Even though, well, we also didn't live as long, but so the concept of muscles being important for sugar management is really essential.
That's something I'm trying to. So my challenge is that, you know, I believe that it's hugely beneficial, even if I took a 10-minute walk after every meal. By the time I get to the end of the day, you know, my problem with my feet. My feet are killing me. So it's, I mean, not on like a normal day, but if I've been like really active working on, you know, something on the house, then like by the end of the day, my feet are shot. But
Jimmy will sometimes go upstairs. He has a bike on a trainer, and he just goes and rides his bike. But who wants? Sometimes you like it's the end of the day.
Right.
We've tried to put this practice after a meal. We're like, let's not just sit on the couch and watch Netflix. Let's just take a stroll together, and it's kind of like nice for us to be together. We just literally do a little loop around, 10 minutes loop around the block.
Right.
And it redirects.
Well, once we get this project done, and it's, you know, nice out now at night, I'll really get back into that. One night, when my feet weren't too sore, and it was probably not great weather recently, and I said, just like you, I said, instead of doing, you know, just watching TV, let's put on YouTube dance video and.
You are so good.
Let's learn the cha-cha.
That's so great.
Well, I think it was a little stressful for Mark. It wasn't like, oh, this is fun, releasing.
Yeah. Not
It wasn't so fun for him.
what's her name? Oh my God, I just spaced on the most popular female singer on the planet right now. Who you do the dance to.
Taylor
Swift. Okay, Taylor Swift. So you can teach them the Taylor Swift moves.
Yeah.
You might like that.
I got a nice note from your mother after that class.
She said loved that.
She said it was, well, I think it just must have been funny just to watch.
It just, yeah, it was so entertaining for her. And she was a dancer when she was young. She was a ballerina.
Oh, gosh.
And so I think dance is her love language for movement. And so when you were doing it, that just I can see she wishes she was up there doing that.
Yeah. Well, it's just, being silly and, it was all part of it too.
That was too.
Just I don't know what the moves are.
Letting loose and
Yeah.
I was at a meeting with some people. I do some volunteer work, and they were talking about getting a movement class into the art community, and this one particular movement class is just like letting it go and just moving your body around, and there's an instructor that kind of guides you through this practice of what you might do. And one of the young gals was like, gosh, I would feel weird even doing that by myself. Like, I don't even do that. And I think, sometimes like you put on the music and no one's home and you just let your body do what it wants to do and no one's watching.
Right.
And it really is dance like no one's watching. And I would never do that in front of people, but it's so freeing. Yeah. And one of my sons, they'd kill me if I told him this, but he says, I do that sometimes. I'm like, that is so good. He goes, I would never let anyone see me doing that, but he says it's like so freeing. Yes. And even just that, you don't have to even go through I remember I knew somebody who was having a lot of leg problems, and she was going through cancer, and she used to just sort of dance around a room and she couldn't. And she said, I started to realize I could dance with this arm. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, now I can dance with it. And she goes, I would just dance with my arms.
Well, that's kind of how I think of qigong. Is really that's why the music is so important to me, because I really do kind of view it as dancing. Or at least like having that same effect. And it's not as complicated as choreography can be in dance. So, but I think it has the same effect.
It does. Your music with the qigong always takes me somewhere because of its music from all these different parts of my life. And as I'm doing it, I'm like having emotions, and it feels like connecting those two things, the movement and the emotions from that time of your life. You might be like, oh, I remember where I was in this song in 1980, whatever. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah. The movement alone is nice, but with the music, it takes it to a different level. Magic. It is magic. Yeah. It's very nourishing. Yeah. Thank you. So what other pillars do we miss anything? I think the last one is a sense of purpose. Oh. Yeah. And it comes at the end, but it kind of holds everything up, right? So true. Yeah, and finding your sense of purpose. Yeah. And sometimes you can go on this long journey of what's my sense, what's my purpose, and then it's like you're wearing the ruby slippers already. My kids will say to me, I was going from my own other career to this, and it's like, I'm not sure what I should do. They're like, duh, but this is what you do your whole life. And I'm like, but that's just what I do. And they're like, yes. And I realized like that is really essential. Like who you are is already there, and looking for that sense of purpose is if you kind of pay attention to yourself, you know your purpose. Yeah. So I think that's
think that's really important. At any age, you know, when you're younger, you're figuring out, you know, like what you want to do for a career.
Yeah.
But as you age, it's important too. It even, I think of my father, you know, who was retired, and you know, he always had, you know, something, you know, to do, and I remember him saying, even if it was reading, you know, he was an avid reader, and but I remember him telling me he was probably in his 80s at this point, maybe even 90s, and he was telling me that he needed to take a break from reading novels because he wasn't getting his work done.
What's his work? Like doing the dishes? Or like...
But he always had like
that sense.
You know, he always had, you know, something that, you know, he wanted to do or you know, figure out. He was very technically curious, and so he always had something he needed to do. Yeah,
and it's, you know, your life's purpose seems so big, right? Like, oh, I don't know what my purpose is, right? But it can be just this really small little thing that supports this huge structure of your life, and it could be small, you know. I realized I really wanted to be part of a community activity. Like I joined the art council, the Atlanta County's Art Council, and I volunteer for a couple things, and that is so, that's another, there's all these nourishment, right? Nourishment through food, through service, through community, through your own practices. Like, I think of all those things as being nourishment to yourself.
Right.
And so that thing you love to do, that's maybe something you always want to do that you didn't have time for before. I feel like that's the joy of kind of finding those things now. Being part of a
I agree. Well, is there anything else that that we didn't cover? Anything like from a podcast that you heard recently that was new to you? Or I feel like sometimes, like the podcasts I listen to, I'm hearing this, and I like this, like hearing the same message.
Yeah.
And because it's not only reinforcing, but it's validating too.
Yeah. I think the one piece that has really stuck with me more within the last year is I kind of going back to that muscle mass piece, healthy aging, longevity, frailty as you get older, just the essential component of being able to be strong through every decade, means that in this decade that I am in right now, I have to be the strongest I can be in this decade, so that when I'm in my next decade, I'm not
catching up.
Yeah, I'm not catching up.
Yeah.
And you know, I see my mom now, she's used her walker everywhere. She can't do the things. And so on a very basic level, I still want my life to continue. I see other women in their 80s, 90s who are doing their thing, and they built that on previous decades of getting strong. No one's in their 90s walking around and doing things who hasn't been already doing that for a really long time.
Right.
And some of them start in their 70s. Some of them even start in their 80s. Like it's never too late to build muscle. And there's always like, oh, I'm older now, I don't. But that's actually been proven wrong. That an 80-year-old can build muscle not as fast as a 20-year-old, but given a little bit more time, can build equal amount of muscle as a 20-year-old, but in just a longer stretch of time.
And how important do you think is protein for that?
I think protein's essential, but I think lifting heavy weights is you have to be able to you take in the protein
Mhm.
and then you put stress on the muscle,
Mhm.
and the muscle uses the protein to build itself.
Mhm.
If you just put protein in your body needs protein for all the hair work and the muscle building. But if you're not putting stress on that tissue,
Okay.
it
Has nowhere to go, or
It
it
does,
isn't
yeah.
going in the right place.
extra
Yeah.
protein will
Yeah.
just turn into fat storage of
Got
like
it.
your body will say, okay, I need these things, and the rest I'm gonna put it away for later.
Okay.
And so
That makes a lot of sense.
I started using a tracker just
For-
recently.
For counting.
For knowing how much protein I ate a day and how much carbs and how much fat. I do it every once in a while. I kind of get a tracker and I'm like, let me just see what I'm doing.
Like on a Fitbit or.
Yeah, there's this one I have. I belong to this app called Ladder.
Okay.
And I don't, because I do my own program at the gym, and the Ladder is, if it's a day that I'm not going to the gym, and I'll just hop onto this app and I'll do one of the workouts.
Okay.
And they have this new feature on it that's a food tracker, and all you have to do is take a picture of your plate.
Oh wow.
You don't have to.
Oh my god.
Or I can
love that.
Or I can just say I ate 2 eggs and a piece of tomato, whatever, and it is the easy, because I've done trackers before. You have to put all the things in, and I'm like, no, too much work for me. I'm not gonna be compliant on that. But I'll do that for just a week. Every meal, everything I put in my mouth, that bag of popcorn or whatever, I put it on there because I want to actually see what I'm eating, how much fat, how much carbs, how much protein, and it's a great reminder. Okay, I see that now, so that I don't have to have that tracker all the time. It's kind of now in my head. This is what it looks like.
Right.
I think that's actually really helpful. As a little reminder of here's how it's all portioned out, and it's super simple to just take a picture.
Yeah.
Because I won't do the other things.
Yeah. Well, the Fitbit that I have, for example, like I put in 2 eggs, avocado, spinach, I will put like how much of it, and then it'll track, how many grams of proteins, carbs, and proteins, carbs, and fats. But it would be much easier just to do a picture.
The picture's not always really accurate, but if I'm not an Olympic athlete, I don't know exactly. I just want to know roughly. Am I hitting my target for protein? And I was so worried. Oh, I don't know if I'm getting enough protein. I'm always protein. And then when I track, I'm like, oh, I'm getting plenty of protein. And sometimes you're getting protein in things you don't realize. Broccoli does have protein. Lots of little vegetables have protein. So it's not just the chicken.
I think that was surprising for me too. Like to that point, what some things you wouldn't expect to have protein do, and things that you wouldn't expect to have carbs do.
And I love nuts. I'm always got every nut possible in a counter. And we'll go buy from it. But nuts are, we think of it as like protein, it's fat. Nuts are just, super dense nutrition. But
so it's like
you
a
need,
little bit.
You need this many.
Yeah.
I was eating
this
many.
I know.
Because it's like, well, it's a healthy snack. I'm like, that, so.
Right. I tend to think like sometimes some things are like a free pass.
Yeah.
It's like, maybe not so much.
But I went to, I just came back from a yoga retreat in Barcelona, and it was up near Girona, actually. And it was in this beautiful old, I think it used to be a dairy farm at some point. So it's this beautiful, big, beautiful stone building that they've converted into this gorgeous, beautiful retreat center. I think 12 bedrooms. And they have a pool and a sauna and a hot tub and a yoga room and a Pilates. It was
I saw the pictures, it looked gorgeous.
It was amazing. It was a super treat because I went with my 3 really good friends, and so I had this bonding thing with them, and we were doing yoga.
I like that, super treat instead of retreat.
It's a super treat. There was a vegan chef that cooked all of our meals because we're here 5 days and we're not going anywhere. And and I was thinking, oh, am I going to get enough protein meal? And so every meal was layered flavors of. I wish I could just eat like that every day. I mean, I'm a chicken, meat, fish girl. I eat everything. So I was kind of worried, like, oh, am I going to be missing stuff?
Yeah.
We were so satiated at every meal.
Wow.
They did cook eggs, so there was eggs in there, but they were deeply nourishing meals. And I came back thinking, I really wish I had the cookbook for those flavors, because I know you cook like this a little bit. You make a salad and you have all these other things in it, and then there's like these layers of lime and shaves of ginger, or just some unexpected layers of flavor. And these meals were spectacular.
Wow.
Like that. Seasoned tofu.
Wow, it seems like a dream.
So that was a real treat.
Yeah.
So that kind of got me thinking into how can I incorporate some of those meals into my day. So.
Yeah, I think it's good to get inspiration, because I find myself making the same things, and you need a little variety to make it interesting. My daughter Kyle and Haley too is they like to cook, and Kyle is way more adventurous than I am. But so when she comes, she'll like always use spices and herbs that I wouldn't normally. So it does make it more interesting.
I went to the store yesterday and I came back with some newer things. I came back with soybean paste, the Japanese soybean paste. And I thought, I'm going to just actually start, because it adds a really nice layer of flavor into soups and meals and stuff. And so now I'm like putting just for that extra interest of flavor.
Yeah.
Because when you come to your meal and it's like the same flavors and taste over and over, there's like a little bit of boredom.
Right, for sure. I was visiting my cousin, and they were serving a soup, but then on the side, she made I don't know what she called it, but it was almost like a salad dressing kind of ingredient. It had, it might have had oil, vinegar, some herbs, and you could spoon it. They were spooning it into the soup. It was just so interesting, and I mean, something I never would have thought to do.
Yeah, that's like Asian sort of style, because you make a soup bowl and then you have all these little flavoring things, and you can add a little bit of this or that.
Mix it in.
Chili crisp, or the spiciness.
Like almost like a salad bar, but with soup.
A squeeze of lime. It changes up, and it kind of excites your taste buds a little bit, and you're eating really nourishing food. So it's kind of.
Well, speaking of food, we should have lunch. Is there anything though else that you wanted to talk about?
I think we've covered all of it.
Very good.
Nourish yourself with
good
food, good
so
friends,
many things.
Good movement.
Honestly.
Support this amazing machine that we've been given.
And we're so lucky where we live. I feel like we have all of that.
We live in this area where it's
nirvana.
It is. We have all that beautiful vegetation. So
Super lucky.
Yes.
Well, thanks so much. I love hearing all your insights.
Meanderings.
All your insights. I love it.
Thanks.
Alrighty.